Hey everybody, Richard Tromers here again at Artificial Lawyer TV, doing another product walkthrough. This time we're looking at Thomson Reuters Westlaw. To tell us a bit more about what they've developed now is Mike. Hey Mike.
Hello, Richard.
Good to have you on the show. Looks like a big leap forward for Westlaw. I will let you take it away and then come back at the end.
Thank you, Richard. Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Dahn. I lead our Westlaw product team globally, and I'm really pleased to share with you Westlaw Advantage. It's our big new release of Westlaw in the US, and it's comprised of two really sophisticated and big new capabilities for doing legal research. One we call Westlaw Deep Research, and the other is Litigation Document Analyzer, and I'll take you through those briefly. With Westlaw Deep Research, we're now providing an iterative agentic approach to legal research, which is much more sophisticated than the early days of generative AI, where we were using more simplistic RAG-based approaches. Now we have AI agents that can use the tool set of Westlaw, tools like the key number system, KeyCite, precision research markup, statutes annotations, etc. And they can move through the research iteratively after formulating a plan. So they formulate a plan and then use these tools to move through the research iteratively, which means that they're reacting to new material that's being found and making decisions based, figuring out where to go next in the research, much like an expert researcher would. When you get to deep research, you'll see that you've got this option for agent time. The default is 10 minutes because that's what we find provides the best results. But if you're in a rush, you can choose an earlier time if you need to get back to a client quickly. When you enter a search and choose a jurisdiction, you'll notice right away that what the agents do is formulate a plan. They'll let you know sort of how they're going to move through this research. Now, most lawyers that we talk to tell us that they're not going to sit here for 10 minutes while the system does its work. And so typically the lawyer will go and do other research or do email or do other work. If you were to stay here, you would see that as the agents complete different parts of the plan, that they will let you know sort of what they've found at each of those parts. But when you come back after 10 minutes, what you'll see is a much more comprehensive, much more sophisticated, much more nuanced report than we've ever been able to provide before. On the left, you'll see a table of contents, so you can jump to any part of the report that looks most interesting. On the right, you'll always see a summary at the start, because these reports tend to be lengthy and will let you know right away what's going on in this area of law for your particular question. As you move through the report, you'll notice that it is chock full of links to primary law and to secondary sources that will help you understand the issues better and to check and make sure that you have everything that you need. In addition to being sort of generally more comprehensive and more nuanced, we have prompted the agents to specifically produce certain parts of this report, because often the questions that we see in Westlaw are nuanced and they don't have black and white answers. Where they do, we will come back with a simple black and white answer. But where they are nuanced, what we'll do is we'll show arguments on each side. This helps the lawyer understand the nuance of the issue. Often there are good arguments that can be made on each side of an issue. And so you want to be able to understand the perspective of each side. And so for our question here, that's about misappropriation of trade secrets, we'll first show the arguments supporting misappropriation liability. And for each of those arguments, you'll see anticipated rebuttals. In the next section, we'll show the arguments against misappropriation liability. And then for each of those arguments, you'll see the anticipated rebuttals as well. In addition to this, to help explain sort of both sides or help the lawyer understand the perspective of each side, we'll show cases on both sides. So in the cases on both sides sections, we show the cases in the jurisdiction where, in this case, misappropriation was supported or it was not supported, on where the court found that the facts were such that no misappropriation was found or would be appropriate. So here you can scan through and see a summary of the facts of each of these cases to see which is most like your client's situation. You can also see if there's any that look like they're problematic, more sort of on the wrong side of this table, and you might want to proactively, argue against that in your brief. We'll also show you practical implications, recent developments, related issues. We'll show you administrative decisions and guidance where that's appropriate. It won't always be appropriate, but where it is, we'll show that. We'll also show you commentary on the question from here sources like AmJur Proof of Facts, AmJur Trials, and ALR. Now, at the top of the report, you'll see a Sources tab. To be clear, all of the sources are linked right in the report, but with the Sources tab, you can go through all of the sources and see a summary of the sources. And you can see the parts of the documents that the agents found to be most relevant for producing this report. And at the end of this section, we'll show you additional sources. Here we're showing additional sources from practical law. So these were not in the report, but might be helpful for additional research. You're going to be hearing about iterative agentic processes for research a lot because it's a much better way for AI to conduct research, to have agents formulate plans and to move through the research iteratively like a human would, but to do it in a much sort of more expansive and sophisticated way using tools. Here we're using tools like the key number system and KeyCite, precision research topics, statutes, annotations, indices, etc. So that's one thing that makes our deep research capability different is the tool set that our agents have access to. But it's not just that the agents have access to those tools. They're also instructed by the experienced attorneys at Westlaw and Practical Law, guided by our customer interviews, so that they can do research like an expert legal researcher would. And then, of course, we're not running these processes across the open web where you could have big gaps in content, or you could have law that looks perfectly up to date but is not up to date. It's invalid. So with our agentic process, what we're doing is we're running these processes across the curated and up-to-date content set of Westlaw and Practical Law. When we talk with customers about the benefits that they're seeing with this new iterative agentic process, typically what they're telling us is that it helps save a lot of time. They can get a lot more done in a shorter period of time, but also that it helps with quality, that often these reports are exposing nuance of the legal issues that they might have missed with traditional research. So those are really the two big benefits. In addition to deep research, we also have Litigation Document Analyzer. Litigation Document Analyzer is an upgrade to what we were calling Quick Check in prior versions of Westlaw. So with Litigation Document Analyzer, you can see that on the left, you can analyze a brief or a memo. In the middle, you can analyze a complaint. And on the right, we have judicial analysis. Judicial analysis is something that we built for the courts so that they could, for instance, upload the filings of all of the parties and see, for instance, the highly relevant documents in the jurisdiction that were relevant to or that are relevant to the litigation issues, but that none of the parties cited to. That helps the courts come back with an objective view on the litigation. We make the judicial analysis available to our other customers as well. But if you're in a law firm, you'll primarily use the items on the left, or if you're in a corporate counsel department or a government attorney. But on the right, if you want to see what the judges are seeing, you can use the judicial analysis. For analyzing a motion or brief, one big upgrade that we have in Litigation Document Analyzer is when you're analyzing an opponent's brief, we'll now show you arguments and counter arguments. So you'll see here on the left, we show you the arguments from the opposing brief, and for each of those arguments, we'll show you a counter argument, and for each of those counter arguments, we'll show you support in the jurisdiction for the counter arguments. We do this for each of the arguments. So it's a really great way to get started with opposing research because all of the arguments have been examined. You've got the counter arguments, you've got the counter argument support. There's still more work to do. Like you might want to go into these documents and see if there's any other cases that you would want for support. You might want to explore around to see if there's additional counter arguments that you could make, but it's an enormous head start for your opposing research. Now, for a while, we've had mischaracterization identification in Quick Check, and this is where what we do is we analyze portions of the opposing brief and the authority that they're citing to, and we're looking for conflicts, where a litigant is essentially saying, this case said X, but when we examine the case, it doesn't appear that it actually said that. So it's not about necessarily changing a quote that from the underlying document. It's more about the context. So, typically the one litigant is saying what the court means is X, and often there's a conflict there because sometimes the litigants will stretch the truth a little bit, trying to make the strongest argument that they can. And so for a long time, we've had AI going through and analyzing the material around quotes. But what we're doing with Litigation Document Analyzer is we're analyzing all of the legal assertions in the opposing brief, and we're analyzing the entirety of the documents that they're citing to. So it's a lot more work on our part. It's a lot more token processing, but it enables us to identify more of these mischaracterizations so that you can get help with your opposing research. We've also built a capability called Citation Issues. This is in response to complaints that we've been getting from the courts, where the courts are telling us that increasingly they're seeing litigants file documents that have citations that are made up, that don't exist, presumably because litigants are using tools like Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT to do their research, where those tools can hallucinate or make up citations. And so the courts have been looking for a tool like this. So we primarily built it for them, but of course we make it available to all of our customers. And so if you want to see right away if there are any issues with the citations in a document, we will show that in the citation issues section. And then we also built a capability for complaint analysis. If you upload a complaint, we'll show you a summary, we'll show you a timeline for the complaint, but most importantly, we'll show you the defenses, both the element-based defenses and the affirmative defenses. And for each of those, you can click into it and see how that defense works, and most importantly, see the supporting primary law in the jurisdiction for that defense, which helps you with the answer, but also helps you get started after you produce the answer with a more substantive brief. All right, well, I'd like to end with a quick comment on verification. So Andrej Karpathy, who is a giant in the field of AI, recently gave a talk at Y Combinator. And in his talk, he talked about sort of where we are with generative AI, and how with generative AI, it's really a two-part process. There's the process of AI generation, and there's also the process of human verification, and that both are really important because with generative AI, it's very rare that generative AI processes are 100% correct or 100% reliable. And so human verification is necessary. And that's whether you're doing legal research or doing anything else. If you've even done simple things like ask Gen AI to produce a picture or a video, well, the verification part is simply looking at the picture and seeing if it's what you asked for. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So that's verification is very quick. For things like legal research, verification is a little more complex because you can't just look at a 7-page memo and see that it has everything that you need. So what Karpathy says is that for those of us who are building AI solutions, that what we need to do is make the generation as good as we can. So he calls it keeping AI on a tight leash to increase the probability of successful verification. I really like the way that he puts that, because what he's saying is that it's not about necessarily just reducing errors. It's about making verification successful. So if you reduce errors, let's say from 95% to 99%, or from, let's say, 5% to 1%, then you still have a verification process. And what you're trying to do is make sure that verification is fast and easy. So he says, make sure your generation keep it on a tight leash and increase the probability of successful verification. But then for the human verification part, make it easy and fast to win. And so this is exactly how we think about it with what we're producing for Westlaw and for CoCounsel. We're trying to make the generation as good as it can be, the AI generation, but we also want to provide a rich tool set to make verification easy and fast. And so the great thing about our new iterative agentic processes for deep research and increasingly for litigation document analyzer is that our AI agents have access to the rich tool set of Westlaw. So the West key number system, decision research topics, our statutes annotations, key cite, et cetera. So it's great that the AI agents have access to those so that they can produce great material for you. But we also provide this rich tool set right within Westlaw so that you can do your verification very quickly and very accurately, because human verification is an important part of the process. So we want to make sure that this is really fast for you. So that's Westlaw Advantage. It's a big new release of Westlaw within CoCounsel Legal. We have AI Deep Research and Litigation Document Analyzer. And you can access these capabilities within Westlaw Advantage, but not just within Westlaw Advantage. You can also access them right within CoCounsel. And so in CoCounsel, we can ask the same question that you just saw in Westlaw, and you'll see that what comes back is the same rich material, the same nuanced report that shows the perspective of both sides right within CoCounsel. And then if you click on these documents, you'll be taken to Westlaw Advantage, where you can conduct further research with tools like the West key number system and key cite, et cetera. So that is Westlaw Advantage. We're incredibly proud of it. And if you have questions about it, please reach out to me at any time. You can reach me at mike.dahn@tr.com.
Thanks, Mike. Fantastic. Really interesting. I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I'll try and keep them brief because we've had a bit of a deep dive there already. Just very briefly, on just a sort of commercial question, if someone's watching this and they're like, yeah, this is great, I want this, I already have a Westlaw account or a CoCounsel account of some type, this just gets added on automatically? They have to request it? How does that work?
They do have to request it. So Westlaw Advantage is an upgrade. And so they can upgrade just to Westlaw Advantage, or if they upgrade to the entire CoCounsel legal suite, in either of those cases, they'll get all of these capabilities. And so they can reach out to their account rep and get access to it.
Fantastic. And I think another question that will come to mind, particularly, as you focused on this as well, because you've got this citation focus and the fact that it will show things that don't have proper citations, at least within, the Westlaw corpus, presumably then, at least when it comes to case law, this should, in theory, remove the possibility of hallucinations, because even if it produces something inaccurate, when you go onto that second layer of checking for the citation, if it can't find the citation, it will say there's no citation, and then the user knows. And of course, I presume Westlaw itself wouldn't produce a citation unless it can find a corresponding citation.
That's right. So you're never going to see a report where you click on a link and it says citation not found. Like, we'll always be providing the links, and then when you click on the links, you'll go to an actual case or an actual statute or an actual secondary source like Rudder or Witkin or ALR or something like that.
So that hopefully, if everybody was using something like this, this or something like this, then that would bring to an end all of these stories we see about, lawyering wherever has just made up a case.
Right. It absolutely takes care of that sort of narrow issue, which is, citing to cases that don't exist. But there's still the larger issue, which is, do I have absolutely everything that I need? And that's where we still encourage our customers to go beyond the reports that we're providing to make sure that they have everything that they need. So we encourage them not to just click through the links, but also to explore more a little bit with the key number system or with statutes annotations, things like that, so that they can make sure that they have everything that they need. Are there any other arguments that could be made? Is there any better authority that could have been cited to? So there's still work to do beyond the initial provision of these types of reports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes nicely with what you were saying earlier about the point about you've got the AI output and you've got the human checking, and that's not going to go away anytime soon. So very, very, very interesting indeed. Just very final point for the international audience. This is obviously for the US for now. Will you be doing this for other markets as well?
Yeah, so we're currently working on these capabilities for UK, Canada, Australia, and then we'll expand out from there to New Zealand and to other areas. But right now we're focused on UK, Canada, Australia. We expect to have those out in the next, 4 to 6 months. We'll do it sooner if we can.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. And thanks to all the Thomson Reuters team out there, of which there are many, many people working away at this. So thanks to all of you. Got to end it there. But as Mike said, if you do have questions, please get in contact with him or the team, and they'll be happy to help you. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Richard.